Hello, everybody. Welcome back to Hot Seat with Fenzola. Thank you so much for tuning in. Today, we're talking about losing a husband. And losing a loved one is probably not the easiest thing and can take time to get over it. I decided to chat to two women regarding this topic. I speak to Nombulelo, but I also speak to Pat. So that we can get different views in terms of how their experience was when they lost their husbands. Pat, thank you so much for joining me on the hot seat with Penzola, and really appreciate you making time to come and talk to me about this subject. Yeah, welcome.
Thank you, Penny.
Thank you so much for joining me, Nombulelo, and coming, really allowing me in your personal space and sharing your story with us. Before we get to the crux of why you're sitting here, I want you to take me back to, the time that you spent with your husband. What was it like being married to him,
Oh, it was so nice. We were married for about 10 years, 11 months.
Wow.
Yeah, I think in our eighth anniversary, that's when he get sick.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it was a marriage made in heaven.
Yes,
it was a great partnership, companionship.
Yeah.
I was married to my best friend.
Yeah.
High school sweetheart.
Yes,
We had great time together.
Wow.
Yeah, and we were looking forward to more beautiful years.
Yeah.
And looking forward to grow old together.
Yeah.
They say we must always talk good about the dead. So he was just a bubbly. He had such a bubbly personality.
Yeah.
A jokeaholic and loving, and that's all I can say.
Yeah.
And, just,
and tell me about the type of relationship that you guys had. There's different types, I guess, in every marriage. Were you guys like besties, what type of relationship?
He was like my best friend. We were like besties.
Yeah.
Yeah, we were so tight.
And how long had you guys been together?
No, we dated for 4 years.
Okay.
And then we got married for a year. Yeah.
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 Sure.
Yeah.
Sounds like an awesome guy.
Very.
Yeah. What was your favorite thing about him? I mean, what did you like about him? The one thing that you miss the most about him?
The music and how he used to admire me.
Yes.
Yeah, he used to call me all sort of beautiful names.
Yes.
Like, you're a paragon of human perfection.
Wow. Hey, Gilichamos.
Yo.
Yeah.
So I'm missing that a lot, Yeah, and the music. And I still love to play the music that he used to play together when we take long trips.
Nice.
And all those things. Yeah.
Sure. And then, look, take me back to that dark time, where when you lost him. What happened?
Yeah, let me start maybe by giving you the background on how it started.
Yes, please.
I was at work, I remember, when our helper called me and say, "Hey, man, you know what, I'm worried that day doesn't look good." And I was wondering what's happening. He was okay with that.
Why that day as right?
Yes. And then I asked her, "What's going on? What's happening?" And then he said, "No, he's just sweating. Looks like he has flu and so on." And then I decided to speak to my manager and ask for a time off.
Yes.
When I arrived home, truly, he was having this high temperature, sweating, disoriented, talking about things that I don't understand, because he used to love jokes. I thought he was
joking.
Wow. And then I realized that, no, this cannot be it. This person is not joking. Let me do something. Actually, it was already like towards after hours. Five and so on. So I had to take him to the casualty at the hospital. So when we arrived at the medical clinic, and then they decided, you know what, let us run some tests and check what's going on. they suspected the tonsillitis, and that's because he was clotting as well when we arrived in the hospital, and we thought it's a minor thing. And then we had to leave him at the hospital. And then the following day when we go back, the results came out, and then we were told that he has cancer, but they don't know what type of cancer is that.
Sure.
Looking at his white blood cells and so on, yeah, it's the symptoms of leukemia, but they are not sure.
Yeah, of the actual
symptoms are
type.
showing,
Yeah,
yes,
yeah.
of the actual. And then he was immediately taken, to the oncology ward.
Yeah,
It
yeah.
was like,
Yo,
yeah,
that's in.
everything, yeah. But because we are believers, I just believe God that, you know what, this is not it. I didn't want to believe it. And we were with some family friends and his mother. And then he said, no, let's pray about this, because they said they're going to run some more tests. Let's pray that they will
Those
come.
tests is,
Yes,
yeah.
And that was it. It was in 2005. So, yeah, as days goes by, he started to US to a point where he ended up in ICU.
Sure.
So we thought we were going to lose him, yeah, during that period when he was in ICU.
Oh, Penny.
I mean, we laugh, but it is quite a sensitive subject.
Yeah, well, actually, it is quite tough to lose a spouse, and it's still hard.
Yeah.
It's been 8 years now.
Sure.
Yeah.
Unzim.
Yeah, kakhulu. But hey, I lost my husband in an accident.
Yeah.
So, hi, bekunzima nje.
Yeah.
Yo. I just don't wish that to anyone, because it was just, I only enjoyed my marriage just for a year.
Yeah.
And, newlyweds,
Yes.
happy.
Yeah.
And you go born, ufuna ukuba there, ufuna ukuba, So all of a sudden you get that call. So it was just
Talk to me about that. Talk to me about that call. Talk to me about the detail, when you received the call and, the emotions that you're going through and, what happened that day?
Oh, that day. Actually, he called me and earlier.
Yeah.
And then he told me that he was on his way back. Okay, then.
Way back, Ekaya?
Yes.
Okay.
So, but he was feeling a bit tired.
Yeah.
And I was like, how? Why want someone you want to drive and then relax and not drive? And then what's here? No, I'm just relaxing at the moment.
Yeah.
And then after maybe 2-3 hours, then I just got this feeling, yabo. And then I decided, no, let me just call him.
How far?
And how is he feeling? And then I'm phoning. Maybe phone, already they were on the way back. So if only I need to okay, Mamani took the phone and she was like, hi, bully. And then me I'm like, hi. And then the phone.
Yeah.
I was like, oh, no, that's quite and what so so I was like, hi, gay, okay, fine, it's okay. Then immediately when I drop a phone, that's when the accident happened.
Sure.
And by God's grace, he was there for 3 weeks. Yeah, for about 3 weeks, and then he came out, and then he continued to get the chemotherapy and so on until he was on remission.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then he was on remission for about 18 months. So, yeah. Yeah, and then in 2007, January, he relapsed. Yeah, that was the worst time, the worst period, because everything happened so quickly, and then they ran other tests, and then they realized that it's lymphoma. So they applied for the bone marrow, the donor, and then he was waiting the queue for the donor while he's getting the chemotherapy.
And I hear that
And
list is quite long.
yes, the
Yeah.
list it's quite
Yeah.
long. Yeah. And unfortunately, it's easy for them to contact, viruses when they
Yes, because
just after
they're
the
at
chemo,
risk.
and
Yeah.
because they in a vulnerable state. So, and unfortunately, he died of the complications of the chemotherapy.
Wow.
Mm.
Ish.
Uh-huh.
And
So,
yeah.
that was it. It was, I never thought I would have to talk about this again, but it was so traumatic,
So, my goodness.
So bafona futhi.
No, at that time, I was actually trying to call again. I was like, no, that's my man. Whatever that I was going to say, that should put him on a speaker then, so that I can talk to him. So I was like trying to call again. While I was trying to call again and no one was answering, I called about maybe several times.
Yeah.
Trying to call, but no one picked it up. So that's when I felt what
Ukuthi
I know,
kukhona into enzakalayo.
Khona into engekho right, yes.
And then
Oh, after a while, my mother-in-law called, and my mother-in-law called me. She was shaking. I could hear the voice in Djibouti. Akekho right now. And then wanting phone some people so that they could go there, and that's when at that time I was holding my son, and my son was just a month old.
Yo.
So you can imagine.
Yeah,
Penny.
yeah.
So it was just tough.
Sure.
And my sister was there. I just gave the phone to my sister, and then my sister made all the calls and everything everything. Yeah, and I tried to call his phone again. I don't know how many times telephone call. Phone yes, trying to reach him. Maybe anything is why but anyway. Yeah, that was intense. But after a while, people came, and his friends especially, and then they were hiding Guti, what happened. Already they knew, So what is happening to the driver, because he was the one that was driving. So but I know Usase trapped in the car, is gonna come out, they're busy with him, no, you'll be fine, and everything. That's when but
so by confirming nini lento ukuthi
by confirming later during the day, but nje ngiyabona ukuthi kulokuza abantu, why people are coming and family. So that's when, but I couldn't put a finger on it. But ngiyabona ukuthi how can kuze family kanje, yabo. And then they started because I was like busy holding my child and crying. Then bamtata, then my mother-in-law, then that's when she broke the news. Akasekho.
Sure.
It was so traumatic because I was so much in denial, because I believed God, because he was a God-fearing man, and we believed God so much, And then I said, God, not now. The kids are still very young, What am I going to do? What am I going to tell the kids,
Did you doubt God at that point? Did you feel like he failed you?
Yes, obviously I did. I look at the conditions, It's 3 kids, 3 years, 6 years, 9 years. And the middle one is a special needs child who requires
close, more time,
and requires, both parents to be there for him. So it was like, God, why are you doing this to me? Please wake him up. Please give him a second chance. Yeah.
And he was gone.
He was gone. He was gone. And I was still expecting a miracle. I remember it took me time to allow them to remove the machines, and
because somehow you thought maybe, something's going to happen, and you'll wake up.
And when everybody thinks that you are strong, and you know yourself that I am strong and I believe God, and God is going to
fix this,
make a miracle, is going to do a miracle here, And then you see everyone, looking down, losing hope, and you're fighting alone. So it was
Phew.
very, very sad. It
Yeah.
was very sad because we stayed in the bar and then he was hospitalized in Joburg. So I have to go back home to tell the kids that Daddy
He's gone.
is gone.
I guess they were young, right?
They
I mean,
were
you're saying
very young. They
the
were very
3-year-old and
young.
a 6-year-old, and maybe the 9-year-old understood, but I mean, the other ones.
Yeah, but
Yeah.
she was still a kid as well, you
Yeah.
know, and she was also hoping to see Daddy again. Yeah.
And take me through what was going on, what was going through your body. You know, you are hearing this thing.
Oh, Penny, it still gets me very emotional talking about it. Yeah.
Sure. And then the support structure at the time. I mean, obviously, uyayizwa. Now, say obviously, the family is there. What was the support structure like at the time? You know, you keep referring to your mother-in-law. Where was your family?
You know, family was there, and everybody, congregation, everybody came, family, friends, because that accident claimed 4 people, and 5 next week.
Yeah.
The other week so it was just
So no mamncane washona.
yes, it was 5 people in that accident and family, so it was just hectic and it was just something else.
You know, the support was minimal, you know. It was like they don't understand what's happening. You know, they were not that much involved. They were saying, you went to the hospital, you come back. And then they were also in denial that it's cancer, as much as I was, that, you know, looking at his lifestyle. You know, he was like an extra careful person, you know, physically, mentally, looking at what he eats and everything, you know. Yeah, so I didn't understand what was happening as well. I was also in denial. So I didn't blame them, you know, that much, because also I was also conflicted, you know. And he was also in denial of that. He said, no, this can't be cancer, you know. Taking from his profession, he was a researcher, he was a clinician. He said, no, why didn't I see the symptoms, you know, before? So there was a lot of questions, and everyone was just in denial. Yeah, but the doctors, even the doctors, they were very, very, you know, not sure about what is happening. They say the symptoms, we can't say exactly what is this, you know. And then it was like, again, there was something that was attacking his lungs, and then they asked if he traveled, you know, recently.
They were not sure.
They were not sure what was going on. So that is why, again, I had hope that he will make it. Maybe it's some kind of virus or whatever.
So besides the fact that you had lost your husband, I mean, that was the core challenge at the time. What other challenges did you face during that period?
You know, raising our son alone, that was the most challenge, because we you know, he was our first child, and we were so looking forward on having
more kids, obviously.
Him and more kids. So at the time, like I was like insane. I think it took me 3 years in Joguba writing, like nibe saint and nibe right. But you know, as in before, if family was there, like my family, friends, congregation, and everyone was like there. Super there, I don't wanna lie. Although that difficult time being as yeah, China.
Yeah.
And there's no translator, there's nothing. I'm just me alone. Yeah. Ugabo, babhizi bakhuluma lento yabo and then wena you trying to like nje. It's just it wasn't easy.
Sure. Now, in terms of our society, when Nombulelo, you know, there's many stories I've heard, and there's also shows that I watch on TV around when a husband passes away. Bahlala basola umfazi wakhe ukuthi khona indaba, you know, either the wife had, you know, even if it's an accident, mara kuhlala kunenkulumo ukuthi umfazi had something to do with it, you know. Did you experience that when?
You know, as it took me 3 years ukuthi ngibe right and to focus ukuthi what's happening around me. So even if there were those talks, bengi like beside what happened to me. So leyo nto leyo bozoyisho at that time give me, it was just bengafiki bengangitouch bengekho into engitouchayo except feeling that loss nje ukuthi what happened. That's when yeah.
You know, nothing was said to me directly.
Yeah,
you know,
yeah, they would never tell you directly. Yeah,
exactly.
Yeah.
But there were some shady, you know, comments. Yeah, so you know, in Sesotho they say, they will always look for someone to blame.
Yes,
you know,
yeah.
something.
Were these comments made during the funeral or after or when?
No, they were made after the funeral, like immediately after the funeral, you know, when we sit down and talk about the way forward, you know, that what is the way forward, and then, you know, I came we came up with a will, and then I said, okay, yeah, as you say, we need to discuss. I think the
And
will,
who were you discussing with? His family, his mom?
his family.
Okay.
Yeah, his family. And then I said, here's the will. I think we can use it as a point of departure, you know, for our discussion. And, you know, and then one of the aunts asked, and then when did Thabo make a will? You know, because he doesn't do anything without telling me. When was this done? When was this done? And then...
So your husband doesn't do anything without telling his sister?
No, I didn't know that. So I didn't know that.
Okay,
And then I said, the aunt. And then I said, you know, yeah, if it was today, I was going to say Ungenapi.
Yeah, but I mean, you know, back then,
so
you know.
I was just, you know, dumb. I didn't know. And then how do I answer this one?
Yeah.
And then he said, another thing, we didn't know what was wrong with him. We only saw on the newspapers that he had cancer, and we didn't know. I said, hello. I mean, you've been visiting him on oncology ward.
Yeah, how clear can it be? Yeah.
Exactly. So I just chose to, you know, I was already wounded during the period when he was sick, you know, with their comments, some of their comments. And
so some of these comments started even when you were still alive, while he was being sick, I guess. Yeah.
You know what? Like, I won't say it was everybody. You know, my husband comes from a complex family, you know, where there are aunts, cousins, this and that. So everybody has something to say.
Yeah.
But what helped me, I looked at the people that I know that they had best interest, you know, in us. I just chose to redirect my focus
to those
people, who are just talking for the sake of talking. And I said, you know what, I will focus on what's going to help me, you know. Even during that period after his funeral, I said, I'm not going to waste my energy trying to argue things that I don't understand. If truly there is something that happened, God will vindicate. The truth will come out.
How are you coping in the state of your insanity or temporary insanity at the time?
You know, I don't know, but all they've told me was, like nobody's business. That's all I knew.
Yeah.
I knew breastfeed and eat, and that's it. Nothing else.
So what did you do? You know, were you speaking to people? bani bekakusiza during that time?
You know, I wasn't speaking to anyone because sometimes they would find me just staring at something and then bang busy, talk I couldn't answer. But I could hear a baby cry, but not everyone around me. Ukhuluma nami so bengeke up until uzuthi hey, no, that's when. So I think isikhathi esenze ukuthi and moving away because I had to move to my in-laws. Ngingamuvela Cape Town, so I think kungabi around environment besikuyo and friends because ngibelekela bo sorry sorry always. So being in Cape Town, it made a huge difference because people there, they understood what I was going through, and then every time bazoletha umuntu and then azozohlala nami and nje angikhiphe lapho, and I wanted vele umuntu njalo ungeke angibuze ukuthi I didn't want that. Bengifuna ukuxoxa nje about what's happening around nje manje ngaleso sikhathi leso. So I think iyo into eyanginceda just ukumove nje, moving, yeah.
And I mean, where are you now? Like, in terms of your grief, this was 2005, we're in 2020. The kids are now grown. Where are you now?
I will say I have accepted. I am healed, but there are moments, when this thing comes and go.
When that song plays.
Yes, and sometimes as the kids are growing, they, you wish he could have been here, to share, some of the accomplishments, that are happening in their lives and so on. So I have my moments, but it's normal. There are many stages of grief,
Yes.
and it doesn't say when it's gonna end, and the fact that, it was a very, very, close, solid relationship. It's not easy to just forget about him. We were still in the prime of our marriage life, where you think,
Actually,
You said
this
it's been
month,
8 years, right?
This month, it could have been our 10th year anniversary this month. So
And he's been gone for about 8 years. So where are you? Emotionally and in the journey of finding, another relationship, moving on? What?
Yeah, I think I am moving, but it's really hard, especially when you are married, and it's hard to find someone these days. And I think maybe I'm still comparing, It's
So
like,
you have a tick list to okay, makafika lo munye amcheck ukuthi uyafana naloyo anaqala.
Maybe, but I don't think angithi kunalesikhathi whereby you feel like hi. Yeah, because I still kept my ring and people still think that he is at home.
Yeah.
And normally I go like that. And so yeah, I'm gonna be out there.
I will be ready.
No.
So you're not available.
No.
Okay, so if there's a potential watching us right now, I'm phone. No, I have to ask, right?
Potential, maybe. If I was yeah, maybe.
Yeah, talk to me about it. Your son. How is? He was 1 month, obviously.
Yeah, he doesn't know.
But now he's old. Kids at school. There's a mom and a dad.
Exactly.
So what conversations are you having around his dad with the child?
I only tell him about the good things. I had the best pregnancy ever.
Yeah.
So I only tell him about his dad. He would do this. He would speak to him when he was in my tummy. He would do this. He would do that. So, and actually, I had one video of him and my son. So I would tell him about that. Sometimes he would ask, questions. Mommy, this, and I would tell me good things about my husband. So, yeah, I don't think he does understand a bit, but sometimes it gets to him. But I go like, no, it's fine.
So what gets to him?
Maybe kids who says, maybe daddy bought me this.
Yeah.
And I said, no, mommy would buy you this. So don't bother. It's going to be fine. you know, Dad is in a better place. One day we'll be able to see him and we'll be happy. And then that brings a smile on his face. Yeah.
True. And what pulled you through? What would you say are the core, the things that pulled you through in dealing with this grief? You know, to a point where you are today.
Yeah, you know what I would say, it's God. You know, my faith. I would say it's my faith, you know. I just told myself it's something beyond my control. I've got 3 kids here. I need to raise them. And then I was busy with my studies, and then I've got to finish my studies. And I believe wherever he is, he will love to see me moving on,
Yes,
you know.
yes,
Yeah,
yes,
he will
yes.
love to see me happy. He will love to see his kids, you know, growing in a healthy environment, you know.
Yeah.
So I had to regroup. I had to put myself together and just
And move on.
And therapy, did you go to therapy?
Not exactly,
or
not
did you
exactly.
not?
Not exactly, but nje,
Do you think it might have helped you heal sooner, or?
hey Penny, akunaskhathi. There's no amount of time. Ngeke uput a timeline on losing someone that you love. I don't think kunesikhathi whereby uthi ithi ngibeke isikhathi esingaka and then by then maybe ngizobe sengimove on or right or sengihilile. No. Noma ungaze uye kuma therapy, noma ungaze uye kuphi. It's just waste of money, I think. Isikhathi nje, isikhathi and the support maybe that will get you there. Cause nje as it still gets me emotional even namanje. So
I did go for professional
Yeah,
help. I wasn't going to make it by myself. I wasn't, you know, and it was through the journey where I learned that, you know, my pain is not my enemy. I just need to befriend my pain, you know, and heal. Yeah.
And the kids, I mean, you spoke about them a little bit and you said that they were young when he passed on, but how did that affect the kids? Did they also get some sort of professional help, like, you know, they do child psychology, and how are they now, you know, from having, you know, lost their father at a young age, and of course the 3-year-old might not even remember him, don't know.
True.
How?
Yeah, you know, kids are very amazing. They've got their own way of grieving, you know. And actually, they are the ones who were helping me to heal.
Yeah.
You know, it was like they have forgotten. It was like, oh, it's normal. And
Let's
so and
move
so,
on.
you know.
Yeah.
I remember my daughter, who was 9 years, saying, Mommy, you know what, Dad is in a better place. You know, he's healed. There are no more sicknesses, no more pain,
You know,
nothing. We just need to move on.
You
And
know,
God will send you a better one.
You
Not to
know,
say Daddy wasn't
Yeah.
better,
But basically God
you
will
know,
give you
and
someone
you know,
else.
when it comes from a child, and I was checking this child and say, yo, does she know what she's talking about? I'm the one who's feeling this thing.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
I remember when she was going for her high school, I took him to a boarding school in Pretoria. So we had to go to Pretoria to and fro 2 times. And then he said, Mommy, you know what? It's going to be okay, you know. Please don't mention that I wish Daddy was here. Daddy is not here, but God is here, you know. Yeah, so
That's profound coming from a child.
exactly.
Yeah.
And with the middle one, I told you he
Yeah.
had some disability, and Daddy was so overprotective with him, you know, and I struggled to take over, you know, because Daddy didn't want me to, because he wasn't born with disability. We had a motor vehicle accident that resulted in a severe head injury. Yeah, with him. That's
And how
he
old was
became-
he when that accident
He was
happened?
2 months old.
Oh.
Yeah, he was 2 months old.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that obviously
And the 3-year-old, I remember the first time when he broke down, it was when he started school. And then he was looking at Daddy's picture. And then I said, oh, Daddy, he's so beautiful. I wish he would have been here. And he broke down. And I also cried. And the sister was always, the strongest. And like every time, with every phase, they experience, even now, there are moments where they will remember Daddy say, you know what, I wish I had a father.
Yeah.
I wish Daddy was here to do this. I wish Daddy would hear. And then the boys, I would say to them, okay, but I'm here, you can talk to me. Say, but Mommy, you're not going to understand some of the things,
It's boy stuff.
It's boy stuff,
Yeah. It's a really sad story, but I think the bravery of your daughter having been the one to help you, where you think you're supposed to be the strong one to help them. How interesting is that?
It is very interesting.
And it's done. I mean, I suppose that was done in that way for a purpose. God gives you the strength in different ways. How would you support, another person that is going through what you're going through, today, if it happened to them today? What would you say the key support that person needs?
Yeah, I would say to them, they need to choose their battles wisely. Because this is not an easy journey. You need to know exactly what you want, what is ahead of you, because things that can weigh you down, it's fights from, families.
From families.
Yes,
But I mean, let's be
yes.
honest, right? It's not family, it's not your family. It's always on the husband's family. Well, mostly, in most cases.
It's always on their side, and I don't know why it's like that, so I will always advise them, they need to focus on things that matters most,
that need to be done at that point.
needs to be done at that point. Like I mentioned to you, that your pain is not your enemy.
Yeah.
You need to befriend it,
So that you can
that's what
love
I
it
can,
and deal with
yeah.
it. And do you think that it helped a lot, the fact that he had a will? What would have happened if he didn't have a will?
You know what, that helped a lot. That helped a lot. I'm encouraging, every married couple or
To have a will,
yes,
right?
everyone who has assets or whatever to have a will. So it helps a lot. It cuts a lot of things,
I can imagine.
Do you still have a relationship with your
My
in-laws?
in-laws.
Yes. Do you still
Yes.
see them, visit them?
Yes, definitely.
Yeah, okay.
Yes, definitely. They are very good people, I don't want to lie. And as I've said, they were very supportive. And they still come and during school holidays and take him, just give me that space. And then,
So interesting question that I have, right? So if you were to find a partner today,
Yes.
and he wants to pay lobola, where would he pay lobola? Does he pay the lobola at your parents' house, or does he pay lobola at your husband's place? Because you are married, right?
Penny.
It's an interesting question. I mean, I obviously from a culture perspective, I don't know anything about this, and I'm not sure if this issue has been addressed.
Yes,
but
yes.
it's a question I'm interested in to say. Anihlukanisanga ukuthi ni divorceile hlukaniswa ukufa, so by marital status you are still married to this person.
Yes.
So if you find another one that marries you, because you've changed your surname, you are now belonging to that family. So amalobola bhadalwa kuphi?
They say mele abhadalwe vele kubomyeni
Ngabo
wami.
umndoda.
Yes.
Sure.
Yeah, because it's seen to that.
Yeah,
Some of the things we don't have to change. So I'm thinking, yes, that mele yelap. Yeah.
Look, I mean, guys, that's definitely a question I'm interested in, and I think if anyone's got an answer for me, please put a comment on the comment line, because if the case is that the lobola is paid at the husband's family, now when we do the traditional of accepting the in-laws, umsebenzi uzenziwa ngabododa bamkela amakhwenyana. It's an interesting. I don't have an answer for it. Help me out. Let's engage on that question. But I mean, I just thought I'd put it there and ask you because I am very interested in that.
I mean, I'm not a correct answer to that.
No, but you're still young.
Yes,
You are pretty.
I remember
You're gonna get married.
I remember when my father-in-law told me, you're still young and we won't have a problem.
Monga move on.
Yeah, you know, but in time, as long as whoever that you move on with, I ain't gonna change his name because
Owabo.
yes, so I don't think it's gonna struggle because they are abantu rights.
So bazovuma ukuthi okay amalobola hamba ekhishwa lekini.
I'm not sure ke lapho but nje maybe if angithi kuyakhulunyisana ukuthi whether githi or bona and then that's it. But why isikhuluma ngamalobolo?
That's the kind. I mean, as we speak now, you know, you like I said, you are young. There's a potential of another marriage, and it's an interesting question to ask, and it's a question I'd like us to engage on. Why do you still wear your ring? Is it a thing that you're still attached to him, or is it a sign? Yes. As a sign so you move on.
I think maybe kumula. That's when maybe ngizobe saying move on. But for now, he still plays the biggest role in my life. He's actually my life actually. Like I live for that guy. And umungabona umntanami is just a resemblance of him. So ngathi for a bond nje forever.
So it's been 8 years. 8. You haven't moved on. I mean, it's okay if you can't answer this question that I'm going to ask, but you're human. You have needs. Your body needs.
What happens if?
Yeah. So I mean, have you had sex in the last 8 years with anyone else?
Penny, you know, losing a spouse. Kuvaleka yonke into ngathi nje bakhatha yonke into.
Like, so you're back to original?
Like maybe if you have
Okay. All right. Okay. No, I just thought, you know, maybe.
No, I think iyabuyela mingabi iyabuyela, but nje yes, like uba shut down completely. Like nanoma ungabona into enjani kenzakalani kuwe nje kuvalekile nje, just don't. Into nje ezisuhlungu nje, it's whereby maybe ubone couple, that's when yabona izinto ezinjalo ezithathayo nje ukuthi
seems your kids, you know, from what you're telling me, your kids are encouraging you to say God will send you someone else. Have you thought about it? Is it something that's on the cards?
Yeah, I'm open for that, but it's not up to me, you know, to go look.
Yeah, no, for sure. But I mean, you know, if a gentleman does come and you know you are open to a conversation.
Yes,
like that.
I'm open to a conversation.
Okay, all right, cool. I mean, I really appreciate you spending time with us and talking to us about your personal journey of losing a partner, a spouse, a husband, a best friend, and obviously leaving you to raise a very small child on your own. And I really appreciate you being honest with us. Advice is advice, right? And everybody experiences things differently. What would you say is the key thing to someone out there that's watching, that's going through the same thing, you know, who is, you know, within the first year, or even who is within the same timelines? You know, what would you say, you know, as words of comfort or
cry? Just let it out. Shout, scream, you know, just let it out. It's like you are allowed. You are allowed to shout, you're allowed to scream. Crying, I think it evala something. Yeah. I cried a lot. I cried a lot. So sure. I think that on its own,
it was therapeutic.
Yeah, it was therapeutic.
Sure.
Thank you so much, Pat.
Yeah.
It was a very certainly sad conversation for me, but I appreciate you being brave to share your journey. Many people go through what you're going through. And some are still going to go through it. And I felt that it was important for Hot Seat to have this discussion, and that's why, you know, for me, I wanted to speak to yourself and Nombulelo, where you share the journey and you know, especially around the families, you know. I think for me, from the stories I'm hearing and what you're saying to me, the husband's family contributes to your pain during that time. You know, because they're already thinking about his assets, or they're already thinking about, we don't know what was wrong with him, clearly you know, but you are also in the dark, he was also in the dark, you know.
Yeah.
So, and it's our culture, it's our society, and I don't know how we need to start transformational conversations about the subject, guys, because why is it that when a husband dies, the wife is always blamed for the death, but when a wife dies, the husbands are never blamed, you know?
True.
So we as a society need to start having these conversations and be honest to ourselves to say, you know, I've seen many shows, I've read many stories. That is exactly what's happening, and we need to understand where this pandemic comes from. You know,
yeah, but
why?
at the same time, Penny, you need to forgive them, and that's what I have done, or that's what I'm doing. You know, because at the same time, the kids still want to have the relationship with their grandparents, and it's their family.
It
you know,
is, yeah.
I cannot decide for the kids.
No, you
You
can't.
know, yeah. So you need to forgive them because they are grieving for their child, and I am grieving for my husband. So it won't be the same. All that you need to do is to detach and give them some space to grieve their child in a way that will make them happy.
But they must
and
also
then they
give you the
must
space and
also
not
give
grieve
me,
through
yes, exactly.
Yeah,
that's
what I'm
what,
saying.
you know, because so many things that are hurting, you know, happened. But I'm this kind of a person who wouldn't just be quiet, you know, when people step on my toes. So
Nice.
most of the time, I would address issues that I'm not happy about, and then I will make them aware that, you know, one day don't come and blame me and say I didn't give you access to your brother's child, because if you hurt me, you hurt my kids.
Yes.
So
No, well, I
I
guess
had
that's
to
great.
address
That
them.
we have to start to learn to address these issues, because I think also in our community, being a Makoti, you are expected to just sit back and take the nonsense.
Yeah, and there
you
is
know?
this incident that I like to talk about, you know. One day I was supposed to take the kids home to my husband's family. So I was running late. I had so many things to do, and, you know, I had to do that after work. And then from there I had to make sure that, you know, when you take the kids there, everything is well prepared and so on. So, you know, when you get married, I don't know if that happens in your traditional culture. They give you a name. So they gave me
also
a
gave
name.
me a name.
Yeah, they said Malerato.
Malerato,
You know. So they called on that day because I was delaying, and then they say, how far are you? When are you coming? It's getting late. And I said, no, we've just left the house. We will be there like in so many minutes or after an hour. And then they forgot to drop the phone, to put the phone down. And then they say, oh, Matsileng, you know?
So they've given you another name.
Another name. And then the first thing, my greeting when I arrived there, and then I said, Takisale Malerato. Oh, this is my new name, because the person that I used to share responsibilities with is no longer here.
Yeah.
Now, because I, you know. So, I think you shouldn't keep things or keep grudges. You need to address things immediately and move on, you know. So that's what I can advise to most Makoti, so that they know who they are dealing with, you know.
And they also recognize why they're there. They're not there for the rest of the family. But anyway, the whole Makoti discussion is a hot discussion of another day. But thank you so much, Pat, for joining me. It's been such a pleasure, and I really appreciate you making time.
Thank you so much.
Cheers. Sure. Guys, thank you so much for tuning in for this topic today. This was definitely a sad topic for me, and I guess that's why my energy levels are not so high. But it's a topic that we as a society need to discuss and engage in, especially around the blaming of the wife when the husband dies. Guys, we need to address that, because that ain't cool. I mean, unless there's proof and evidence that yes, she is responsible, then let the law deal with that.
And I think what's very important that Nombulelo spoke about is let it out, cry about it. But more than anything, if you have the right support, you are able to get through it. Thank you so much for tuning in. Please remember to subscribe, comment, and like. And don't forget to answer that question, about the lobola thing. I'm really interested in that.
If there are any questions for Pat, drop a comment and I will ask her and get her to answer your questions. It's been real. Cheers.